Hello and welcome to this continuing first look exploring session looking at Lust's Dominion, or the Lascivious Queen, or the Spanish Moor's Tragedy, and that title is perhaps more indicative of the problematic nature of this particular text, which deals with some, not brilliantly with issues of race, and there's also some misogyny in here and all sorts of other jingoistic issues as well, because it's Spanish and therefore the beginning of the 17th century. That's not necessarily considered a good thing by anyone in the early modern England. Parts and readers have all been assigned randomly. This is not an attempt to cast anyone as the roles that we're reading. We're just here to assess the text, and to that end we are going from Act 2, Scene 6 today with these wonderful set of readers. So reading today, the Queen Mother is
Liza Graham, here in London for your delight and delectation.
Reading Maria Zarack, Stink number 3, and Emanuel is
Sarah Blake in Germany, not for your delight or delectation.
Reading Eleazar, Crab, and Captain is
Emma Kemp, and I'm in London.
Reading Alvero, Oberon, Balthazar, Stink number 2, and Moor number 1 is
Rachael, actor on the East Coast.
Reading Roderigo, Fernando, Stink number 1, and the young Philip is
Desna from Lancaster.
And reading Nicole, Mendoza, and Christofero is
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm here for my own delight and delectation, but I don't think anybody cares.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton, and of course we care. We care deeply. And I'll be reading stage directions and leaping in if there are any clashes, which is possible because the doubling is a little extreme. We have occasional moments where people talk to themselves, but hopefully to a minimum. So Act 2, Scene 6. A lot's been going on, so much stuff. People are plotting to kill other people. People are co-opting other people to plot or counterplot. It's all got quite complicated. So without further ado, we're just going to have a scene here where Eleazar is still on stage from the previous scene. There's a lot of that flow of action where people are still on stage and then somebody else joins them. Enter Maria, his wife.
Dear Eleazar.
If they lock the gates, I'll toss a ball of wildfire over the walls.
Husband, sweet husband.
Or else swim over the moat and make a breach through the flinty sides of the rebellious walls.
Hear me, dear heart.
Or undermine the chamber where they lie, and by the violent strength of gunpowder, blow up the castle and the incestuous couch in which lust wallows. But my labouring thoughts, wading too deep in bottomless extremes, do drown themselves in their own stratagems.
Sweet husband, dwell not upon circumstance when weeping sorrow like an advocate importunes you for aid. Look in mine eye. There you shall see dim grief swimming in tears, invocating succour. Oh, succour!
Succour? Zoons! For what?
To shield me from Fernando's unchaste love, who with uncessant prayers importuned me.
To lie with you. I know it.
Then seek some means how to prevent it.
'Tis impossible, for to the end that his unbridled lust might have more free access unto thy bed, this night he hath enjoined me to fetch back Philip and the cardinal.
Then this ensuing night shall give an end to all my sorrows, for before foul lust shall soil the fair complexion of mine honour, this hand shall rob Maria of her life.
Not so, dear soul, for in extremities choose out the least, and ere the hand of death should suck this ivory palace of thy life, embrace my counsel and receive this poison which, in the instant he attempts thy love, then give it him. Do poison him. Be gone, thou art next. Be sound in resolution, and farewell. By one and one I'll ship you all to hell. Spain, I will drown thee with thine own proud blood, then make an ark of carcasses. Farewell, revenge, and I will sail in blood to hell.
Exit Eleazar.
Poison the king. Alas, my trembling hand would let the poison fall, and through my cheeks fear, suited in a bloodless livery, would make the world acquainted with my guilt. But thanks, Prevention. I have found a means both to preserve my royal sovereign's life and keep myself a true and loyal wife.
Exit Maria with a cunning plan. What that is, we shall see. So this is very much continuing from the previous scene. Fernando having exited to accost Eleazar's wife, and she comes running on, and he's there. This seems deeply comic, this action of him just going, oh, I could do this, and I could get rid of him in this way, and she's going, dear, no, dear, oh, if he's having sex with my wife now, and just, dear. So, yeah, we're having all these tonal questions that keep coming up here of how much of this is sort of weird farce. He gone, thou art next. Does seem like actually he's fine with killing his wife there. We were questioning that last time, whether he was sincere. We seem to have a clue that he's cool with that. Yeah, Liza.
Oh, sorry, I've noticed Rachael also had a hand up, but...
Well, I'll go to you first then, Rachael.
All right. Yeah, I mean, he did seem earlier to... when the Queen Mother asked him to put his wife out of the way, he seemed more keen on getting rid of the Queen Mother because he thought that Maria's affair with Fernando, he thought would be a means for himself, Eleazar, to rise. He didn't seem particularly bothered about the whole infidelity aspect. Maria seems more bothered about that. But yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. But now poisoning the king. So that Eric was saying last time, I think in the chat, he was saying, why doesn't he just kill the king? Well, yeah, he's trying to kill everyone basically. There's very few people in this play who he isn't on some level trying to murder. So yeah, we were saying last time we were sort of conflicted about how bad this person's motivations were and how far he's willing to go. And yeah, he's really heading down the villain route at the moment. Anyway, let us...
He did say he was going to head down the villain route, to be fair. I mean, he did give us ample warning yesterday. He was like, oh yeah, I'm going to become a massive villain. And he is! So...
Yeah, he's hit the indicator and he's veering off down the slip road, down towards to Villainsville. So that's where he's going. Rachael. No, cool. Right, let's crack on. Let's get a little further into some Act 3 action. So that's sort of closed off Act 2 for us. Act 3, Scene 1, enter Queen Mother with a torch.
Okay, out of character, I have to say this speech carries a strong content warning for racism. So, like, if you want to fast forward through this bit, that is absolutely A-okay.
I think, to be honest, just skip the video. It's not going to get any better.
Fair eldest child of love, thou spotless night, empress of silence and the queen of sleep, who with thy black cheeks pure complexion makes lovers' eyes enamored of thy beauty, thou art like my Moor. Therefore I will adore thee for lending me this opportunity, oh, with the soft-skinned Negro. Heavens, keep back the saucy staring day from the world's eye until my Eleazar make return. Then in his castle shall he find his wife transformed into a strumpet by my son. Then shall he hate her whom he would not kill. Then shall I kill her whom I cannot love. The king is sporting with his concubine. Blush not, my boy, be bold like me, thy mother. But their delights torture my soul like devils, except her shame be seen. Wherefore, awake! Christofero, Roderigo, raise the court. Arise, you peers of Spain, Alvero, rise! Preserve your country from base infamies.
Enter at several doors with lights and rapiers drawn, Alvero, Roderigo, and Christofero with others. All together now.
Who raised these exclamations
These exclamations to the court.
Sheathe up your swords. You need not swords, but eyes to intercept this treason.
What's the treason? Who are the traitors? Ring the larum bell. Cry arm through all the city. Once before the horrid cry of treason did affright our sleeping spirits.
Stay! You need not cry arm, arm, for this black deed works treason to your king, to me, to you, to Spain, and all that shall in Spain ensue. This night Maria, Eleazar's wife, hath drawn the king by her lascivious looks privately to a banquet. I, unseen, stood and beheld him in her lustful arms. O God! Shall bastards wear Spain's diadem? If you can kneel to baseness, vex them not. If you disdain to kneel, wash off this blot.
Let's break into the chamber and surprise her.
Miserable me, do break in. My country shall not blush at my child's sin.
Delay is nurse to danger. Follow me. Come you and witness to her villainy.
Hapless Alvero, how art thou undone in a light daughter and a stubborn son?
And they exit. Act 3, Scene 2. Enter King Fernando with his rapier drawn in one hand, leading Maria seemingly affrighted in the other.
Oh, kill me ere you stain my chastity.
My hand holds death, but love sits in mine eye. Exclaim not, dear Maria, do but hear me. Though thus, in dead of night, as I do now, the lustful Tarquin stole to the chaste bed of Colatine's fair wife, yet shall thou be no lowly priest, nor thy king a Roman slave, to make rude villainy thine honour's grave.
Why from my bed have you thus frighted me?
To let thee view a bloody, horrid tragedy.
Begin it then. I'll gladly lose my life rather than be an emperor's concubine.
By my high birth I swear thou shalt be none. The tragedy I'll write with mine own hand. A king shall act it, a king shall die. Except sweet mercy's beam shine from thine eye. If this affright thee, it shall sleep forever. If still thou hate me, thus this noble blade, this royal purple temple shall invade.
My husband is from hence. For his sake spare me.
Thy husband is no Spaniard. Thou art one. So is Fernando. Then for country's sake, let me not spare thee. On thy husband's face, eternal night in gloomy shades doth dwell. But I'll look on thee like the gilded sun, when to the west his fiery horses run.
True. Here you look on me with sunset eyes, but by beholding you my glory dies.
Call me thy morning then, for like the morn, in pride Maria shall through Spain be born.
Music plays within.
This music was prepared to please thine ears. Love me, and thou shalt hear no other sounds.
A banquet is brought in.
Lo, here's a banquet set with mine own hands. Love me, and thus I'll feast thee like a queen. I might command thee, being thy sovereign, but love me, and I'll kneel and sue to thee, and circle this white forehead with the crown of Castile, Portugal, and Aragon, and all those petty kingdoms which do bow their tributary knees to Philip's heir.
I cannot love you whilst my husband lives.
I'll send him to the wars, and in the front of some main army shall he nobly die.
I cannot love you if you murder him.
For thy sake, then, I'll call a parliament and banish by a law all Moors from Spain.
I'll wander with him into banishment.
It shall be death for any Negro's hand to touch the beauty of a Spanish dame. Come, come, what needs such cavils with a king? Night blinds all jealous eyes, and we may play. Carouse that bowl to me, I'll pledge all this. Being down, we'll make it more sweet with a kiss. Begin, I'll lock all doors. Begin, Spain's queen.
Locks the doors.
Love's banquet is most sweet when 'tis least seen.
Oh, thou conserver of my honour's life, instead of poisoning him, drown him in sleep. Because I'll quench the flames of wild desire, I'll drink this off. Let fire conquer love's fire.
Were love himself in real substance here, thus would I drink him down. Let your sweet strings speak louder. Pleasure is but a slave to kings, in which love swims. Maria, kiss thy king. Circle me in this ring of ivory. Oh, I grow dull, and the cold hand of sleep hath thrust his icy fingers in my breast, and made a frost within me. Sweet, one kiss to thaw this deadness that congeals my soul.
And Fernando sleeps.
Your Majesty hath overwatched yourself. He sleeps already. Not the sleep of death, but a sweet slumber, which the powerful drug instilled through all his spirits. Oh, bright day, bring home my dear lord ere his king awake, else of his unstained bed he'll shipwreck make.
Now Maria offers to go, but now enter Oberon and fairies dancing before him, and music with them.
Oh me, what shapes are these?
Stay, Maria.
Oh, my sovereign lord, awake! Save poor Maria!
It cannot save thee, save that pain. Before he wake, thou shalt be slain. His mother's hand shall stop thy breath, thinking her own son is done to death, and she that takes away thy life does it to be thy husband's wife. Adieu, Maria, we must hence. Embrace thine end with patience. Elves and fairies make no stand till you come in fairyland.
And they exit, dancing and singing, la 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 la. We don't know all the songs.
Fairies or devils, whatsoe'er you be, thus I will hide me from your company.
And once again Maria offers to go, and we go into Act 3, Scene 3. To her enter the Queen Mother suddenly, with Alvero and Roderigo with rapiers, and Christofero possibly.
Lay hold upon the strumpet. Where's the king? Fernando, son. Ah me! Your king is dead. Lay hands upon the murderess.
Oh, imperious queen, I am as free from murder as thyself, which I will prove if you will hear me speak. The king is living.
If he lived, his breath would beat within his breast.
The life he leads, Maria, thou shalt soon participate.
Oh, father, save me.
Thou'rt no child of mine. Hadst thou been owner of Alvero's spirit, thy heart would not have entertained a thought that had conversed with murder. Yet mine eyes, howe'er my tongue wants words, brim full with tears, entreat her further trial.
To what end? Here lies her trial. From this royal breast hath she stolen all comfort, all the life of every bosom in the realm of Spain.
She's both a traitor and a murderess.
I'll have her forthwith strangled.
Hear her speak.
To heaven let her complain if she have wrong. I murder but the murderess of my son.
All together now.
We murder
the murderess of our king.
My child, oh, cease your torturing.
Oh, heaven ope your windows, that my spotless soul, riding upon the wings of innocence, may enter paradise. Fairies, farewell. Fernando's death at mine you did foretell.
And she dies. The king awakes.
Who calls, Fernando? Love, Maria, speak, or whither art thou fled? Whence flow these waters that fall like winter storms from the drowned eyes?
From my Maria's death.
My Maria dead? Damned be the soul to hell that stopped her breath. Maria, oh me, who durst murder thee?
I thought my dear Fernando had been dead, and in my indignation murdered her.
I was not dead, until you murdered me by killing fair Maria.
Gentle son.
Ungentle mother, you a deed have done of so much ruth that no succeeding age can ever clear you. Oh, my dear love, yet heavens can witness thou wert never mine. Spain's wonder was Maria.
Sweet, have done.
Have done? For what? For shedding zealous tears over the tomb of virtuous chastity? You cry, have done. Now I am doing good, but cried do on when you were shedding blood. Have you done, mother? Yes, yes, you have done. That which will undo your unhappy son.
And Roderigo says, "These words become you not, my gracious lord."
These words become not me. No more it did, because you, lord, to be mute standers by, when lustful fury ravished chastity. It ill becomes me to lament her death, but it became you well to stop her breath. Had she been fair and not so virtuous, this deed had not been half so impious.
But she was fair in virtue, virtue is fair, oh me.
Oh me, She was true honour's heir. Hence, beldam, from my presence, all fly hence. You are all murderers. Come, poor innocent, clasp thy cold hand in mine, for here I'll lie, and since I lived for her I'll die.
But the scene continues in a moment, but we'll pause there because quite a lot's gone in. Maria doesn't decide to poison the king, decides to use sleeping draft, at which point, as you do, Oberon, King of the Fairies, turns up with some fairy train and gives her a warning that bad shit's going to go down. And lo and behold, it does. I mean, Oberon's right. I mean, dude, he gave a warning.
It's a bit tough though, isn't it? Like, fairies turn up once in your life, and it's basically to tell you that you're about to die horribly, and then you do. It's like, wow, what a use of fairies.
I feel the fairy union needs to get on and misrepresentation of fairies and elves.
Well, I feel she got some tunes out of it. There was music, so it's like I don't know what they were. I'm banging pop numbers. I don't know. Liza.
Yeah, I mean like everyone else is saying, the random fairies that can't even save her. If a supernatural being intervenes in a tragedy, I was hoping it would be to save someone. But no, I guess the theater probably had costumes left over from another production, and they were just like, fairies! Kind of like, in some early modern dramas, they're like, pirates! But,
maybe they were doing James the Fourth again or something,
To bring fairies on and have them do nothing that changes anything is very weird.
Yeah, but then again, this play is very weird. So, I think the fairies, frankly, are the least of its problems. Eric.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe the fairies are there to delay the costume change or something, because it seems like some sort of other structural function that we've missed, because it just seems like they're delaying the action long enough to keep her there. Otherwise, she would have left, basically. I mean, narratively at least. And I don't know. It's an interesting scene, and also now conveniently, Eleazar does not need to murder his wife.
Yeah, I think there is a sort of other potential structural reason for it, because it means Fernando sleeps, and it does a speech, and rather than then just suddenly random people come on, it sort of sets up the random people coming on to kill at the moment. So it kind of works in a weird way, even though it is really pointless. But it's just random. I'm not averse to random, so that's kind of cool. The Queen Mother's up to all sorts of stuff in the scene prior to that. There's a lot of flow of movement and and stuff. And we get a running banquet, and we get music, and it's just this kitchen. Rachael.
Yeah, but I think also the fairies not helping her. I think you could play with the costuming, and it might come down to the costuming. How do you want to portray the fairies? Is Oberon looking, full fairy king, or is it the opposite sort of thing where it's the fairies coming for that teeth or whatever you call it, the price, that blood price, like in that
the 10 to hell.
Yeah, the one where what's the one with I think it's the Scottish lord, and he's taken, and then yeah, that one. It could be one of those things, because the dressings that Fernando's putting on, that it's a banquet, there's musicians, but this is so creepy, every single thing he's saying to her. It's the racism on top, the way he's degrading her husband in terms of the racism, and also how bizarre and overt this is supposed to be. And then does he say something about Lucrece? That's so, it just becomes more and more bizarre and makes you want to jump. Like there's a certain horror story that I think the dressings of the set you could play out.
Yeah, there is this almost this element of actually, we're not rooting for anyone. We're just waiting to see how they're going to die. That sort of feels that there's an element of that in my mind at the moment. I'm just going, yeah, I hope they all get a horrible comeuppance in the end. And hey, that may indeed happen. Sarah.
I am just wondering as well now, like, having introduced fairies, like, are we going to get more fairy action? I mean, it kind of, it throws the whole oh, everybody's going to die, that whole kind of sort of Spanish tragedy kind of theme, it into a bit of a weird place, doesn't it? Because okay, the fairies didn't save anybody, so yeah, you haven't got like a mystical power turning up and saving people, but it does. You do think, well, are fairies going to turn up every time someone's about to die? Because we didn't really have any murders yesterday, did we? So like this is the first one. So
yeah, first unnatural death. Yes.
Is this going to be a recurring theme? Or is it just going to happen this once? Because it's, I don't know, it's a really interesting thing to put in. It's going to change the audience's expectations, I think, of what they're seeing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe this is just what, fairies do for kicks. Oh, they're going to die. Shall we watch? Let's go in and tell them. Let's tell them in advance. It's yeah, maybe they're not our friends after all. Eric, and then we'll move on.
To be fair, most lore, I mean, as far as I know, like sort of both modern and sort of early modern and pre-early modern and so on, medieval, whatever. Fairies are very mischievous, so like you wouldn't trust them. I mean, the whole changeling thing, and then like fairies, and like why on earth would you trust a fairy to do anything but just sit and watch and laugh and dance and sing while you're being murdered?
I don't know. It's a night out, I suppose. So anyway, let's see where this goes, because we're still mid-scene, because the scenes never seem to end. Enter to the scene in Act 3, Scene 4, as it's laid out. Enter Eleazar with a torch, his rapier drawn.
Bar up my castle gates, fire and confusion shall girt these Spanish curs. Was I, for this, sent to raise power against a fugitive, to have my wife deflowered? Zoons! Where's my wife? My slaves cry out she's dallying with the king. Stand by, where is your king? Eleazar's bed shall scorn to be an emperor's brothelery.
Be patient, Eleazar, here's the king.
Patient and I am foes. Where's my Maria?
Here is her hapless corse. That was Maria.
Here lies Maria's body. Here her grave, her dead heart in my breast tomb shall have.
Now, by the proud complexion of my cheeks, ta'en from the kisses of the amorous sun, were he 10,000 kings that slew my love, thus should my hand, plumed with revenge's wings, requite mine own dishonour and her death.
And he stabs the king.
Ah, me, my son.
The king is murdered.
Lay hold
Lay
on
hold
the
on
damn
the
tree.
damned traitor.
In his breast, that dares but dart a finger at the Moor, I'll bury this sharp steel, yet reeking warm with the unchaste blood of that lecher king that threw my wife in an untimely grave.
She was my daughter, and her timeless grave did swallow down my joys as deep as yours. But thus...
But what? Bear injuries that can. I'll wear no forked crest.
Damn this black fiend, cry treason through the court. The king is murdered.
He that first opes his lips, I'll drive his words down his wide throat upon my rapier's point. The king is murdered, and I'll answer it. I am dishonoured, and I will revenge it. Bend not your dangerous weapons at my breast. Think where you are. This castle is the Moor's. You are environed with a wall of flint. The gates are locked. Portcullises let down.
Enter Zarack and Balthazar above with cavaliers.
If Eleazar spend one drop of blood on those high turret tops, my slaves stand armed, and shall confound your souls with murdering shot. Or if you murder me, yet underground a villain, that for me will dig to hell, stands with a burning linstock in his fist, who, firing gunpowder up in the air, shall fling your torn and mangled carcasses.
Oh, sheathe your weapons! Though my son be slain, yet save yourselves! Choose a new sovereign.
Prince
Philip
Philip
is our sovereign.
sovereign.
Choose him
Choose him king.
Prince Philip shall not be my sovereign. Philip's a bastard, and Fernando's dead. Mendoza sweats to wear Spain's diadem. Philip has sworn confusion to this realm. They are both up in arms, war's flames do shine like lightning in the air. Wherefore, my lords, look well on Eleazar, value me, not by my sunburnt cheeks, nor by my birth, but by my loss of blood, which I have sacrificed in Spain's defence. Then look on Philip and the cardinal, look on those gaping curs, whose wide throats stand stretched wide open like the gates of death, to swallow you, your country, children, wives. Philip cries fire and blood. The cardinal cries likewise fire and blood. I'll quench those things. The Moor cries blood and fire, and that shall burn, till Castile, like proud Troy, to cinders turn.
Lay by these amberjays. What seeks the Moor?
A kingdom, Castile's crown.
Peace, devil, for shame.
Peace, doting lord, for shame! Oh, misery when Indian slaves thirst after empery! Princes and peers of Spain, we are beset with horror on each side. If you deny him, death stands at all our backs. We cannot fly him. Crown Philip king. The crown upon his head will prove a fiery meteor. War and vengeance and desolation will invade our land. Besides, Prince Philip is a bastard born. Oh, give me leave to blush at mine own shame. But I, for love to you, love to fair Spain, choose rather to rip up a queen's disgrace than by concealing it, to set the crown upon a bastard's head. Wherefore, my lords, by my consent, crown that proud blackamoor, since Spain's bright glory must so soon grow dim, since it must end, let it end all in him.
Eleazar
shall be king.
O treachery, have you so soon raised out Fernando's love? So soon forgot the duty of true peers? So soon buried a mother's name, that you will crown him king that slew your king?
Will you hear him or me? Who shall be king?
Eleazar
shall be
Castile's
Castile's
sovereign.
Do, make haste to crown him. Lords, adieu. Here hell must be, when the devil governs you.
Exit Alvero.
By heaven's great star, which Indians do adore, but that I hate to hear the giddy world shame, that I waded to a crown through blood, I'll not digest his pills, but since, my lords, you have chosen Eleazar for your king, invest me with a general applause.
Live
Live,
Eleazar, Castile's royal king. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
A villain and a base-born fugitive.
A bloody tyrant and usurping slave.
Thanks to you all. 'Tis not the Spanish crown that Eleazar strives for, but Spain's peace. Amongst you I'll divide her empery. Christofero shall wear Granada's crown. To Roderigo I'll give Aragon. Naples, Navarre, and fair Jerusalem I'll give to other three, and then our viceroys shall shine about our bright Castilian crown as stars about the sun. Cry all, arm, arm! Prince Philip and the cardinal do ride like Jove in thunder. In a storm we'll meet them. Go, levy powers. If any man must fall, my death shall first begin the funeral.
And coup complete. Exit, everybody. It goes from, it stabs the king, stabby king time. I mean, he's got a good cause to a degree there, going. I like the way his own father goes, well, she was my daughter, and I'm very sad about these But have you considered the political implications and he gets cut off? So there's something weirdly comic about Alvero. So yeah, and it's just Eleazar and the Queen, through sheer force of personality, of just going, well, if you don't back him, there'll be chaos and death, and everyone will come for you. The others, it won't be stable. You know, stable government. That's what you want. It probably helps that he's got snipers set up. That he's got his men with calibers standing there with guns standing over everyone. I mean, I think that might help his case. This, and the fact we have a side saying, we don't like this guy, does suggest that the rebel resistance is already working behind the scenes. Rachael.
Yeah, I didn't pick that up, that there might be physical force there coercing them into supporting his regime. But I thought it was one of those moments like the Queen, because Maria is out of the picture. She can be more than Queen Mother or something, or, she can marry him and do what she wanted to in the first part. And that could be her reason for embracing that falsity. Not that falsity, that falsehood. Maybe Roderigo or Christofero, they're going for greed, or something like that they get those lands.
All sorts of reasons why people might be doing things. I'm still going to go with the people with guns. That's probably going to turn it. Eric.
Yeah, there's lots of interesting things happening in this scene. It's like, look, yay, he killed the king. Oh shit, what are we gonna do now? Yeah, but it's kind of, I don't know, just, yeah, it's treason. Yeah, this guy killed the king, but then Eleazar goes, yeah, whoever speaks, I'll shove my knife down your throat, basically. But he doesn't have any proof that the king and Maria did what he claims they did. And he doesn't even ask. He just walks into it and says, this will not be, my house will not be made a brothel, kind of thing. Which is interesting. No one just it happens so quickly that they don't really sort of react. And I didn't expect the Queen Mother to react like that for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe I was still hoping that she wouldn't.
No, I don't. I wasn't expecting any other shift in the plan at that point. I think by that point it's reasonably well known that that's what she's been saying. I don't think it's coming out as a surprise to anyone. And yeah, Eleazar's coming on to that's his plan. Obviously from the off, he doesn't know she's dead at that point, but he does know that they might be a compromising position he can manipulate. But yeah, it's a bold move, just stabbing the king in front of everyone. I suppose it makes him more honest in a sense. Liza, and then we'll move on.
Well, I think one of the central questions of this scene is, does Eleazar intend to kill Fernando? Or does seeing his wife dead, provoke that in some way? Because he's spoken earlier about explicitly not wanting to kill Fernando, about Fernando being on the very short list of people he doesn't want dead. But yeah, that Queen Mother speech is something, that I don't know whether she's still enthusiastically backing Eleazar or whether she simply sees that she has the same number of choices everyone else has.
Yeah, and he has just killed her son.
He has.
So there's a lot of conflicting things going on here. Sarah.
He did tell Maria to poison Fernando. So, he was more on the fence. Well, he was more pro Fernando early on, but I think by this, or certainly by the end of Act 2, he'd pretty much changed his mind about that. He seemed to have. I do think it was. I mean, he seems to be. I spoke yesterday about the fact he has all this broken dialogue. We haven't seen so much of that today, but we had a lot of like broken speech from him yesterday, where he was sort of thinking in the moment and spontaneously like developing a plan as he went along. And I mean, this to me just seems to be in keeping with that from his character perspective. Like, if he wants to kill Fernando, this is going to be probably his best ever chance. And to do it in front of everybody, I mean, yeah, it could all go horribly wrong, but everyone's going to be in such shock. And he's got the perfect excuse. And it's like, it's a pretty savvy move, actually. But I can imagine that he just, based on what we saw of him yesterday, it's something that he just kind of does in the spur of the moment and risks it. It makes it a really dynamic scene, though.
Yeah, and you know, he's locked. The gates are locked. Portcullis is let down, and then his men turn up. I mean, he's prepared lots of options, but he is just improvising, isn't he? Around a theme. Eric, and then we must move on.
Yeah, also I was trying to think that, like, well, the Queen Mother at this point, her husband has been killed, their son has been killed. I mean, her husband has died, her son has been killed. So in theory, like, she doesn't really have a claim to the throne anymore, does she? If she married into it, unless it was her throne, like, by inheritance. So it would have been quite difficult to keep a hold of power, I think, if she didn't leap for Eleazar. I mean, if aside from like the lust part of the situation. So, yeah.
And of course, the next in line's Philip, and Philip doesn't like her either. So you know, that's the other political thing. Anyway, we must move on. Having seen them from above, they presumably enter now below. I don't know if we're just seeing them still on the battlements. Act 3, Scene 5. Enter Zarack and Balthazar with calivers.
Is thy cock ready? And thy powder dry?
My cock stands perching like a cock of the game, with a red coal for his crest instead of a comb. And for my powder, 'tis but touch and take.
I have tickling gear too. Anon I'll cry, here I have it, and yonder I see it. But Zarack, is't policy for us to kill these bald pates?
Is policy for us to save ourselves? If they live, we die. It's not wisdom, then, to send them to heaven, rather than be sent ourselves. Come, you black slave, be resolute. This way they come. Here they will stand, and yonder will I stand.
And in yonder hole lie.
Our amiable faces cannot be seen if we keep close. Therefore hide your cock's head, lest his burning cock's comb betray us. But soft. Which of the two shall be thy white?
That black villain, Friar Cole.
I shall have a sharp piece of service. Friar Crab shall be my man. Farewell, and be resolute.
Zounds. Zarack, I shall never have the heart to do it.
You rogue! Think who commands. Eleazar. Who shall rise? Balthazar. Who shall die? A lousy friar. Who shall live? Our good lord and master, the Negro King of Spain.
Cole, thou art but a dead man, and shalt turn to ashes.
And exit Balthazar.
Crab, here's that shall make vinegar of thy carcass.
And exit Zarack. Enter Crab and Cole, two friars with a rout of stinkards following them.
Oh, brother, 'tis best so. Now we have drawn them to a head, we'll begin here in the marketplace. Tut. So long as we be commanded by the Mother Queen, we'll say her son is a bastard, and he were 10 Philips.
Take you one market form, I'll take another.
No, God so, we must both keep one form.
In oration, but not in station. Mount.
Well, my masters, you know him not so well as I, on my word. Friar Crab is a sour fellow.
Yet he may utter sweet doctrine, by your leave. But what think you of Friar Cole?
He? All fire, and he be kindled once a hot Catholic.
You mark him, he has a zealous nose and richly inflamed.
Peace, you rogues, now they begin.
Incipe, praetor.
Non ego domine.
Nec ego.
Quare?
Here.
Queso.
Here's
Here's a queasy beginning, methinks.
methinks.
Silence! Silence!
Silence.
Brethren, citizens, and market folks of Seville.
Well beloved and honored Castilians,
It is not unknown to you
I am sure you are not ignorant
how villainous and strong
how monstrous and huge
the faction of Prince Philip is.
Philip that is a bastard,
Philip that is a dastard,
Philip that killed your king,
only to make himself king.
and by God's blessed lady, you are all damned and you suffer it.
Friar Cole says true. He speaks out to the heat of his zeal. Look how it glows.
Well, Friar Crab, for my money, he has set my teeth an edge against this bastard.
Oh, his words are like Fergus to wet a man's stomach.
Silence!
Silence.
Now, contrariwise,
Your noble king the Moor,
is a valiant gentleman,
a noble gentleman,
an honourable gentleman,
a fair black gentleman,
a friend to Castilians,
a champion for Castilians.
a man fit to be king.
If you were not borne down by him that would be king, who, as I said before, is a bastard and no king,
What think you, my masters? Do you mark his words well?
Further, compare them together.
There's no comparison
Comparison between them.
nay, but hear us, good countrymen.
Here, Friar Cole! Here, Friar
Here,
Cole!
Friar Cole.
Set that bastard and Eleazar together.
How? Mean you by the ears?
No, but compare them.
Do but compare them.
Zoons. We say again, comparisons are odious.
But say on, say on.
Unfortunately, they can't say on because the snipers attack. Pieces go off, friars die. Boom, boom, down.
Treason.
Treason! Every man should sell self.
This is treason!
Treason.
Arm.
Well, isn't that a farewell to the friars? Taken out by snipers. I want exploding blood packs. I want the full works. Liza.
You would expect the friars to have some kind of ironic line or some sort of or some kind of thing that prompts their death, but you know, this reminds me of when in a role-playing game session, when you want to end the game quickly, the game master just shrugs and says, "Rocks fall, everyone dies." So someone wrote half a scene for these poor friars, and then he's like, "Shoot them, okay? Shoot, not any of the stinkards, just the friars. Just, you know, shoot them." And it's like a bad comedian when a giant hook comes on to haul them off. They never get to the punchline.
Well, I don't know. It is sort of set up with say on, say on, boom, boom. It's like, do you have more? Yes. Eric.
To be fair, there is a point to this because, like, throughout the whole scene, the Cole and Crab are going, "Yeah, Philip is a bastard. He's bad. We don't want to support him." And then the Stinkards are going, "Yeah, no, we love Philip. He's the Catholic. He's like Christian, you know, so on and so forth." And then by the end, they're like, "Treason! Kill them! Philip's treason!" And like, sort of, it just reverses the whole, like, you know, what has been happening in the scene.
I mean, we don't know whether there's any collateral damage in this particular the attack. I don't know whether any of the Stinkards are taken out or anything. I mean, I think it's just part of the audacity of this text of just like literally you think the scene's going one way and then they just poof take you out. It's like we've got X way through the scene, change direction. Even though it's signposted really, really clearly at the beginning. But yeah, in the same way as with the fairies turn up and, you know, we know there's going to be a death. We know it's coming. But we don't expect how it happens or when precisely it happens. So, yeah. Surprises and reversals. This will be a thing. We'll see a lot more of this kind of stuff. Okay. I don't think there's anything more to say. Farewell, Cole and Crab. We loved thee. How villainous and strong. How monstrous and huge. They are a double act who sort of wrote themselves, I feel. Yeah. We shall not see their like again. Act 3, Scene 6. Enter Eleazar, Zarack, and Balthazar.
Zarack and Balthazar, are they dispatched?
We saw him sprawl and turn up the white of the eye.
So shall they perish that lay countermines to cross our high designments. By their habits, the Cardinal and Philip scaped our nets, and by your hands they tasted our revenge.
Enter Queen Mother.
Here comes the Queen. Away, under our wings. We shall stand safe and brave the proudest kings.
Exeunt Zarack and Balthazar.
Oh, fly, my Eleazar, save thy life! Else point a guard about thee. The mad people, tempestuous like the sea, run up and down, some crying, kill the bastard, some the Moor. Some cry, God save King Philip, and some cry, God save the Moor. Some others, he shall die.
Are these your fears? Thus blow them into air. I rushed amongst the thickest of their crowds, and with a countenance majestical like the imperious sun, dispersed their clouds. I have perfumed the rankness of their breath, and by the magic of true eloquence transformed this many-headed Cerberus, this pied chameleon, this beast multitude, whose power consists in number, pride in threats, yet melt like snow when majesty shines forth. This heap of fools who, crowding in huge swarms, stood at our court gates like a heap of dung, reeking and shouting out contagious breath of power to poison all the elements. This wolf I held by the ears and made him tame, and made them tremble at the Moor's great name. No, we must combat with a grimmer foe. That damned Mendoza overturns our hopes. He loves you dearly.
By his secret letters he hath entreated me to leave the court and fly into his arms.
The world cannot devise a stratagem sooner to throw confusion on his pride. Subscribe to his desires, and in dead night steal to his castle, swear to him his love hath drawn you thither, undermine his soul, and learn what villainies are there laid up. Then, for your pleasure, walk to take the air. Near to the castle I'll in ambush lie, and seem by force to take you prisoner. This done, I have a practice, plotted here, shall rid him of his life and us of fear. About it, madam, this is all in all. We cannot stand unless Mendoza fall.
And they exit and end of the act. I'd forgotten, that there's this. They set up a hair earlier that Mendoza had the hots for the Queen Mother. So that was set up in passing earlier. But yeah, it's like we have the beginning of this short scene where they sort of put to bed any fears about rebellion. Queen Mother being a bit diminished as a figure in that moment, I felt. But then setting up, we'll use his interest in you to set him up for death, to clear Mendoza, because of course how many we've basically got a tick list now of who's going to die next. Mendoza is next on the list. He's got a cunning plan. I have a practice plotted here. So, what? Any predictions for the murder of Mendoza? Any thoughts? No, we'll just be surprised. Desna, then Sarah, then Eric.
So this isn't a prediction for anybody's death, but and maybe this has been explored yesterday in the earlier part of the play. But is this a pattern of Eleazar's to identify a woman, so either Maria or the Queen Mother, to sort of kind of use to attack his enemies?
To a degree, yeah. I mean, he uses everybody, really.
Okay.
But most of his dialogue is in this kind of in confidence is with the Queen Mother or with his wife, to a degree. His now deceased wife, obviously.
Yeah.
He's going to run out of people to talk to if he's not careful. Sarah.
My prediction is Mendoza's going to be given a speech, and a twister's going to come in and a house is going to drop on him.
Yeah. I think that's a perfectly reasonable...
why not? Yeah.
It's that kind of play.
It's that
kind of play. Eric?
This play is not really hanging around, is it? I mean, we're in end of Act 3, and it's kind of like, we've killed 2 characters already, like quite central characters as well. And it's like sort of things have changed a lot since the beginning of the play. It just, I don't know, I'm really impressed in how it's also bouncing along in terms of dialogue. There's no like long speeches about, the weather or whatever, or metaphors about anything. It just sort of, it gets to the point.
Yeah, it is a sort of political thriller in its aspect. I mean, you say that there haven't been long speeches about the weather. There probably will be to introduce the house falling on Mendoza. So that's obviously gonna to come. It's giving us a hell of a ride. I mean, it's not a short play, but only it's over. We're doing it over 3 sessions, but it feels like if we just ran it, we could probably do it in one go because it doesn't hang about by any stretch of the imagination. That's how elastic plays can be. You can take plays that are almost exactly the same length, and one will be an hour longer, just simply because sometimes they just want to be very slow. This is not slow. Act 4, Scene 1. Enter Emanuel, King of Portugal, Prince Philip, Mendoza, Alvero, with drums and soldiers marching.
Poor Spain. How is the body of thy peace mangled and torn by an ambitious Moor? How is thy prince and counsellors abused and trodden under the base foot of scorn? Wronged lords, Emanuel of Portugal partakes a falling share in all your miseries, and though the tardy hand of slow delay withheld us from preventing your mishaps, yet shall revenge dart black confusion into the bosom of that damned fiend.
But is it possible our mother queen should countenance his ambition?
Her advice is as a steersman to direct his course. Besides, as we by circumstance have learnt, she means to marry him.
Then here, upon my knees, I pluck allegiance from her. All that love which by innate duty I did owe her shall henceforth be converted into hate. This will confirm the world's opinion that I am base born, and the damned Moor had interest in my birth. This wrong alone gives new fire to the cinders of my rage. I may be well transformed from what I am, when a black devil is husband to my dam.
Prince, let thy rage give way to patience, and set a velvet brow upon the face of wrinkled anger. Our keen swords must right these wrongs, and not light airy words.
Yet words may make the edge of rage more sharp, and whet a blunted courage with revenge.
Here's none wants wetting, for our keen resolves are steeled unto the back with double wrongs. Wrongs that would make a handless man take arms, wrongs that would make a coward resolute.
Why then, join all our several wrongs in one, and from these wrongs assume a firm resolve to send this devil to damnation.
Drums are far off.
I hear the sound of his approaching march. Stand fair. Sent Jack for the right of Spain.
And enter Eleazar the Moor, Roderigo, Christofero, with drums, colours and soldiers marching bravely.
Bastard of Spain!
Thou truth-stamped son of hell, thy pedigree is written in thy face.
There's an alarum and a battle. That presumably goes on for a while. The Moor wins. There we are. The Moor prevails, all exit. I think I'll just pause here because normally before a battle you have a lengthy sequence of come and have a go if you think you're hard enough, which has been contracted here to just bastard of Spain. That's it. You're a bastard. Come and have a go. And they do. A battle occurs. It's just so peremptory. It's just... And we've just had all these other people going, let's take on the Moor, and then they immediately lose. Great. Eric.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole well, I mean, maybe not to the same effect, but like streetcar of named Zarack going Stella, and like just sort of like, you know, Eleazar coming on going bastard of Spain, I will. Yeah, obviously he doesn't say anything else, and then, you know, no, Philip just kind of replies. Yeah, I was wondering if this is sort of like in parallel to like some sort of fanfic of like Battle of Balthazar or something, because it is a bit sort of leading to a battle. Clearly,
well, battle indeed we've had. I mean, there's no more. That's it. That's what. I say it could be a very extensive battle on stage. It'll be very exciting, but that's all the script is giving us. So, Act 4, Scene 2. Enter Philip and Cardinal Mendoza.
Move forward with your main battalion, or else all's lost.
I will not move a foot.
Zarack, will you lose the day?
You lose your wits, you're mad. It is no policy.
You lie.
Lie?
Lie, a pox upon it, Cardinal, come on. Second the desperate vanguard which is mine, and where I'll die or win. Follow my sword the bloody way I lead it, or by heaven, I'll play the devil and my role. We'll turn our backs upon the Moors and set on thee, aye, thee, Cardinal, Zarack, thee.
Your desperate arm hath almost thrust quite through the heart of hope. Our fortunes lie a-bleeding by a rash and violent onset.
Oh, Sir Life, Sir Foot, will you not fight?
We will not hazard all upon one cast.
You will not?
No.
Coward.
By deeds I'll try, whether your venomous tongue says true. Farewell. Courage shines both in this and policy.
And exit Mendoza.
To save thy skin whole, that's thy policy, you whoresome fat-chapped guts. I'll melt away that larded body by the heat of fight, which I'll compel thee to, or else by flying, to work which I'll give way to the proud foe, whilst I stand laughing to behold you run. Cardinal, I'll do it. A more. Philip cries a more. Holla, la, woo.
Enter Emanuel, King of Portugal.
Prince Philip! Philip!
Here, plague, where's the Moor?
Oh, the Moor's a devil. Never did horrid fiend, compelled by some magician's mighty charm, break through the prisons of the solid earth with more strange horror than this prince of hell. This damned negro, lion-like, doth rush through all, and spite of all knit opposition.
Where? I'll meet him, where? You mad me. 'Tis not his arm that acts such wonders, but our cowardice. This cardinal is the slave.
And enter a captain.
Sound a retreat, or else the day is lost.
I'll beat that dog to death that sounds retreat.
Philip!
I'll tear his heart out that dares name that sound.
Sound a retreat.
Who's that? You tempt my sword, sir. Continue this alarum, fight pell-mell. Fight, kill, be damned. This fat back coward cardinal lies heavy on my shoulders. This shall fling him off. Sound a retreat? Zounds, you mad me. Ambition plumes the Moor, whilst black despair, offering to tear from him the diadem which he usurps, makes him to cry at all, and to act deeds beyond astonishment. But Philip is the knight that doubts his glories. This sword, yet reeking with his negro's blood, being grasped by equity and this strong arm, shall through and through.
Away then.
From before me, stand fast, fight. A more.
And Philip remains. So yeah, Philip is doing his really strong Scrappy-Doo impression, isn't he? He's, let me at him, and everyone else is going, maybe tactical withdrawal here, maybe just retreat, and maybe we shouldn't do that. And he's going, come on, no, we won't. I'll attack you if you don't come on and fight with me. Philip has issues. I think we've established that last time. Eric.
Yeah, I think it's kind of also it reminds me of the knight from I think it's the Black Knight from the Monty Python Holy Grail, where it's like it's just a flesh wound, keep fighting.
Yeah,
obviously, yeah,
yeah,
pretty much. It's just Yeah.
Yeah, and I just love Emanuel just going, Philip. That Philip is so loaded. Sound or a treat. Don't do that. So again, it's comedy as well. I mean, what is the is this supposed to be out and out farce, or are we supposed to care about these people because it's so comic book? Liza, then Rachael.
It is a bit comic book. I mean, the play is called Lust's Dominion, and I think the common theme is supposed to be that Spanish people have less control over their desires than we, honest British people. That they react in extreme ways. When they have an impulse to do something, they don't question it, they just do it. And they follow through on their desires, whatever their desires may be. So this is part of that Philip hastened to denounce Eleazar, and he's also hastening to fight Eleazar because for him that hate that he feels is stronger than any caution. And we're in a tragedy here. It might be his downfall.
Yeah, again, actually, rather than say who's going to die next and in what particular crazy method, who do you think's going to survive? I think it's perhaps a better question. Who's going to survive this play?
I mean, is anyone?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I kind of want them all to die on some level. I'll go to Rachael, then Sarah.
I think it could be both comedic and serious because I mean, Philip, I think, is younger than Fernando, and he's one of the youngest maybe on stage. But I mean, like, if you look at it from his perspective, Eleazar, was having an affair with his mother. His dad's now dead. Eleazar killed his brother and, has worked in tandem with his mother to usurp the crown from him. So, I mean, it's got to be just insult to injury that he's not just outmaneuvered Philip in terms of the court, but also militarily. And what do you call it? The affront to his manhood in a way, that these guys are all have this machismo about them to some extent.
Sarah.
My money is on Alvero surviving, because he's the patriarch, isn't he? So I think he might survive. The question of tone, I don't think it matters, does it really? I mean, it's just I said yesterday, it's on a knife edge between comedy and tragedy, and I mean, I kind of like that. And I mean, we've had that before in other plays. I mean, the Spanish tragedy is, just heartbreaking, and yet also in places incredibly funny. And I think you could play this just as it pops off the page, which, I mean, it is hilarious. It's very, very farcical, but it's also got all these murders and deaths. I mean, I guess it's maybe more leaning towards the farcical than the tragic because maybe this is a reflection on me rather than the play. I don't really care about any of these people, it has to be said. So I'm not feeling a great sense of tragedy, and I don't think I'm going to be getting a great sense of catharsis when they do all lie, on the stage covered in their own blood. But
we don't have a Hieronymo.
No, we don't. That's
as
the
a
thing.
Central core figure that we care about.
Exactly. So it's like, I think you can get away with both. I think you can get away with ramping up the violence and ramping up the comedy, and I think it kind of works. This
is more Geronimo than Hieronymo, as it were. We heartily recommend Geronimo, by the way, the Spanish comedy, as you might otherwise call it. It really undermines actually being able to take this tragedy seriously. Actually, it does a very good job. Eric.
Well, like for me, it's like a cross between like Solomon and Persida in terms of and sort of what's it called? I had it in my mind a second ago. Captain Stukely, where you've got like this one character going, I can beat everybody. I just want to fight people and have women fall in love with me. And yeah, it just kind of it's like a cross between those two. But also extremely racist. Yeah. And Solomon and Persida just like you've got Solomon turning around every 5 minutes going, yeah, kill that guy.
Yeah, I mean, it is just unrelenting, and it's just constant. But just every few lines, there's this loaded dialogue, and I mean, there's probably sort of now, sort of in an intellectual basis, just going, okay, if we just went through and just removed every single one of those insults and all of those references, how long would the play be? Because there's so much, and it just. Once it started, it just will not stop, and it's just piling on and piling on. And I'm starting to go that we could be looking at 15-20% of the text. So yeah, it's really it's a question. Rachael.
I mean, like the racist stuff is really problematic, but it's like, since Dan said this, I've kind of like been thinking about this when we approach these texts, just that there really are people that say those things and do those things. And, some of these people are saying, the friar said it to his face, but a lot of these people do not say these things to his face, and they say them to each other, peer to peer, like in terms of like we have individual identity and then group identity, and there's a sort of cowardliness, and I've had people say things to me before thinking that it's okay because we're the same race. And I've told them, like to stop, but there's like, it's like that sort of thing that I think there's there are racists and they think it's okay to say these things when people are not around, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is sort of the matrix of the text overall. I mean, it's not just that there are individual characters who are saying these things. It's that it does seem to be baked into what the player is trying to say. Now, that doesn't mean that a spin cannot be given, and it will very much depend on the creatives who work on it. It's really not for me to say what one should do with a text like this, because it's really not up to me. But yeah, is that element, something that has... We spoke about this the other day, and I think no answers are necessarily needed at this point. But we just keep raising that point, because, it's a really difficult play for that, which is a shame, because we're really enjoying the action. The action is good. Some of the dialogue is incredibly... And I hate to lose those two friars. I really hate to lose those friars. They are, and that's that assassination scene and so many other scenes.
And the Stinkards. I want the Stinkards back if we can't have the friars back.
Yeah, and just Balthazar and Zarack talking, doing their cock jokes, which we didn't really discuss actually when we were there, because it was just so. It was just so. I am holding my loaded weapon. Look at my big loaded weapon. Etc. Etc.
Well, one thing is that you can tell this is an early play, because they make that joke about hide your cock's head. We are to understand these are matchlock weapons, right? And the head they want them to hide is the smoldering tip of the matchlock, which like a bit like a cigarette, it can be seen in the darkness. If these were flintlock guns, that wouldn't be a problem. But no, we're dealing with slow match here. So, yeah. Anyway, by the by.
Yeah, it's sort of the early modern equivalent of the laser sight being visible. You know, there's a sniper about because you can just see the little ember in the distance. Assuming that scene was at night, but it was probably during the day, so it probably wasn't actually that much of an issue. But it's a yeah. Anyway, we could do a lot more on that. Anyway, but we will move on. So effectively, the scene is continuing because Philip is still on stage because Scrappy Doo will not leave. Everybody else has basically buggered off. And Act 4, Scene 3. Enter Eleazar, Zarack, Balthazar, Roderigo, Christofero, and others. They fight. The Moors, however, this time are all beat in and exit omnes. Remains on stage Eleazar, weary, and Moor lies slain.
Oh, for more work, more souls to post to hell, that I might pile up Charon's boat so full until it topple o'er. Oh, 'twould be sport to see them sprawl through the black slimy lake. Ha, ha, there's one going to the Sirrah, you slave, who killed thee? How he grins! This breast, had it been tempered and made proof like mine, it would have been a mark for fools to hit afar off with their dastard bullets. But thou didst well, thou knewst I was thy lord, and out of love and duty to me here, where I fell weary, thou laidst down thyself to bear me up thus. God a mercy, slave, a king for this shall give thee a rich grave. I think this is a stage direction.
That is a stage direction, yes. As he sits down, enter Philip with a broken sword.
Oh, I'll wear thee to the pommel, but I'll find the subject of mine honour and revenge. Moor, 'tis for thee I seek. Come now take me at good advantage. Speak, where art thou?
Here,
Fate and revenge, I thank you. Rise.
leave and live.
Villain, it is Philippo that bids rise.
It had been good for thee to have hid thy name, for the discovery, like to a dangerous charm, hurts him that finds it. Wherefore do those bloodhounds, thy rage and valour, chase me?
Why? To kill thee.
With what? With that? What? A blunt axe? Think'st thou I'll let thy fury take a full blow at this head, having these arms? Be wise. Go change thy weapon.
No, sir.
I'll stay thy coming.
Thou'lt be damned first.
By all our Indian gods.
Never swear. Thou know'st 'tis for a kingdom which we fight, and for that who'll not venture to hell gates. Come, Moor, I'm armed with more than complete steel. The justice of my quarrel. When I look upon my father's wrongs, my brother's wounds, my mother's infamy, Spain's misery, and lay my finger here, oh, 'tis too dull to let out blood enough to quench them all. But when I see your face and know what fears hang on thy troubled soul like leaden weights to make it sink, I know this finger's touch has strength to throw thee down. I know this iron is sharp and long enough to reach that head. Fly not, devil, if thou do.
How, fly? Oh, base.
Come then.
Stay, Philip, whosoe'er begat thee.
Why, slave, a king begat me.
Maybe so, but I'll be sworn thy mother was a queen. For her sake will I kill thee nobly. Fling me thy sword, there's mine. I scorn to strike a man disarmed.
For this dishonouring me, I'll give thee one stab more.
I'll run away, unless thou change that weapon, or take mine.
Neither.
Farewell.
Sir Heart, stay, and if you dare, do as I do. Oppose thy naked breast against this poniard. See, here's this for thine.
I am for thee, Philip.
Come, nay, take more ground, that with a full career thou mayst strike home.
Thou'lt run away then?
Ah!
Thou'lt run away then?
Faith I will, but first on this I'll bear thy panting heart, thy head upon thy spear.
Come.
And enter Cardinal Mendoza and Emanuel, King of Portugal on the one, and Moors on the other side.
Side upon the Moors.
Side upon the cardinal.
Hold, Cardinal, strike not any of our side.
Hold, Moors, strike not any of our side.
We too will close this battle.
Come, agreed. Stand, armies, and give aim, whilst we two bleed.
With poignards? This is too desperate, dear Philip.
Away, have at the Moors, Sahat, let me come.
Be armed with manly weapons. 'Tis for slaves to dig their own, and such unworthy graves.
I am for thee anyway, thus or see thus. Here, try the vigour of thy sinewy arm. The day is ours already. Brainless heads and bleeding bodies, like a crown, do stand about the temples of our victory. Yet, Spaniards, if you dare, will fight it out, thus, man to man alone. I'll first begin, and conquer, or in blood wade up to the chin.
Let not a weapon stir, but his and mine.
Nor on this side, conquest in blood shall shine.
And there's an alarum, and they fight. The Moor is struck down, which his side seeing, step all in and rescue him. The rest join in and drive in the Moors. Alarum continuing, Spaniards and Moors with drum and colours fly over the stage, pursued by Philip, Cardinal, King of Portugal, and others. Enter Zarack, Christofero, and Eleazar at several doors.
Where's my lord?
Where is my sovereign?
What news brings Zarack and Christofero?
Oh, fly, my lords, fly, for the day is lost.
There are 300 and odd days in a year, and cannot we lose one of them? Come, fight.
The lords have left us, and the soldiers faint. You are round beset with proud, fierce enemies. Death cannot be prevented but by flight.
He shall, Christofero. I have yet left one stratagem that, in despite of fate, shall turn the wheel of war about once more. The mother queen hath all this while sat sadly within our tent, expecting to whose bosom white-winged peace and victory will fly. Her have I used as a fit property to stop this dangerous current. Her have I sent, armed with love's magic, to enchant the cardinal, and bind revenge down with resistless charms. By this time does she hang about his neck, and by the witchcraft of a cunning kiss has she disarmed him. Hark, I sound retreat. She has prevailed. A woman's tongue and eye are weapons stronger than artillery.
And there's exuenting going on. So there's a lot goes on here. You know, we have this one-to-one match between Philip and Eleazar, but it's one of those sort of fighty things of going, I'll fight you. No, I won't fight you. Fight here. Have a sodding sword. No, I'm not going to fight you. And that sort of back and forth. She's really reminding me of Tragedy of Mariam, actually. I'm thinking that with Elizabeth Carey interest in this kind of play, that feels like that might be a borrow from this. I don't know about that. That's why I'm scrabbling with books. It's because there's a Constabaris has a fighty sequence with someone, and there's a little back and forth. It is different in many ways, but I'm just wondering. Anyway, but we have big dramatic fight sequences. We have one-to-one fight sequences leading to big battles. This is a very complicated series of battle stuff. Actually, I joked earlier saying there's a battle here. That's the stage direction, but actually, this whole act is a running battle, and skirmishes and backs and forths. It's really quite dynamic and clever in many ways. And so then we have a one-to-one, which leads to more actual fighty war stuff. Thoughts on the room? Sarah, and then Desna.
Yes, it leads to actual fighty war stuff, but once again, this play pulls the rug out from under your feet because nobody actually dies in this scene. It's like we've had all these murders. Then finally you have this thing where the two enemies finally kind of face each other, and nobody dies in the scene where you actually expect someone's gonna be slaughtered. They're not. But then at the very end of the scene, we're suddenly back in kind of brilliant psychotic strategist mode because, it's like you said earlier, Rob, he kind of thinks on his feet, but he's always got, like, plans in place because right at the end of the scene, it's like, oh, yeah, no, it doesn't matter because I'm going to send the Queen Mother. In fact, I've already sent her. She's going to go and seduce the Cardinal and kill him. And it's like, wow, he's kind of an incredible villain, this guy. I mean, I know, like, the anti-hero is you know, a sort of fairly stereotypical character, the villain that you kind of love in spite of the fact that he's just so awful. But you've got to give the man props because he's just so clever. He's given it all this with Philip, and he's got this other little plan going on in the background. I don't know. It's just very clever, this play, the way it sort of just messes with your expectations. You know, the thing that you're expecting in a battle scene doesn't happen, but then you find out this other thing is going on behind the scenes that you had no idea about.
I mean, they set up this thing with Mendoza, and it's sort of been beating along, but it's like, you know, that bit's done. We're moving to the next thing. This is the next thing. Set up next scene. Next scene enters. Desna.
Yeah, so after the original bit with Philip trying to want to keep on, you know, forcing his troops forward and everyone going, no, she needs to back off now. And it kind of came off a little bit tantrumy and immature, and then there's this opportunity for him to actually fight and kill Eleazar in this second bit, and that doesn't quite happen. It's just it's more chest beating and stuff. I don't know, there's a kind of, he's still a bit of a kid, it feels like, and he's outwittable by Eleazar, and he just feels very immature, I think, really, through all this, which Eleazar takes advantage of.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Eric.
I think I also kind of like that Eleazar doesn't do the thing that happens in modern films or plays or whatever, where the villain tells the hero his plan. He tells, you know, someone who's an ally, aka the audience also finds out. But it's just kind of like, it kind of plays out the way he plans. Like, you think it's going to play out the way he plans it, but and he doesn't just sort of decide to kill. Because yesterday we were talking about what age are these characters, and sort of he doesn't go and kill what's his face, Philip, immediately. He just sort of wastes time and goes, oh yes, I would never be caught killing a child, or you know, something to that effect. It's like, you're there's no point in me killing you, kind of thing. You're not even good enough for me to kill. Disdain. And almost, and then he has this whole plan that's happening in the background as well. I don't know, there's something quite sneaky about that. And also, I find it interesting that he's relying on the Queen Mother to do this, because it's like, if she doesn't comply, which kind of happened with Maria earlier, the plan goes to shit.
Yeah, I think the play is working the assumption that, you know, unless it's clearly signposted, that people are going to enact the actions most of the time, especially in her case. Yeah, and of course, you know, it has an immediate effect because, you know, a retreat is being sounded by Mendoza's forces, presumably, and you know, this thing has been happening. Maybe all this stuff with Philip and Eleazar is actually just a cunning distraction that's going on, though Mendoza does pop in, so that doesn't quite work. So anyway, we're going to go on to Act 4, Scene 4 and complete our session for today. Enter Cardinal Mendoza, the Queen Mother, soldiers, drums and colours.
By all those sighs which thou like passionate tunes hast often to my dull ears offered, by all thy hopes to enjoy my royal bed, by all those mourning lines which thou hast sent, weeping in black to tell thy languishment, by love's best, richest treasure, which I swear I will bestow, and which none else shall wear, as the most prized jewel but thyself, by that bright fire which flaming through thine eyes from thy love's scorched bosom does arise, I do conjure thee, let no churlish sound with war's lewd horror my desires confound. Dear, dear Mendoza, thus I do entreat, that still thou wouldst continue this retreat. I'll hang upon thee, till I hear thee say, woman, prevail, or chiding criest away.
Is there no trick in this, forged by the Moor?
I would the Moor's damnation were the ransom of all the innocent blood that hath been shed in this black day. I care not for the Moor. Love to my kingdom's peace let makes me put on this habit of a suppliant. Shall I speed?
You shall. Were it to have my bosom bleed, I have no power to spare the Negro's head when I behold the wounds which his black hand has given mine honor. But when I look on you, I have no power to hate him, since your breath dissolved my frozen heart, being spent for him. In you my life must drown itself or swim. You have prevailed. Drum, swiftly hence, call back our fierce pursuing troops that run to catch the laurel wreath of conquest. Let it stand a while untouched by any soldier's hand.
And exit drum.
Away, stay you and guard us. Where's the Moor? I'll lose what I have got, a victor's prize, yielding myself a prisoner to your eyes.
Mine eyes shall quickly grant you liberty. The Moor stays my return. I'll put on wings and fetch him. To make peace belongs to kings.
As she goes out, enter Eleazar, Zarack, Balthazar, and soldiers well armed. At sight of each other, all draw.
Soldiers, call back the drum. We are betrayed.
Moors, stand upon your guard. Avoid, look back.
What means this jealousy? Mendoza, Moor, lay by your weapons and embrace. The sight of this and this begets suspicion. Eleazar, by my birth he comes in peace. Mendoza, by mine honor, so comes he.
Discharge these.
And these.
And soldiers stand aloof.
Away.
Go.
Soul, rejoice to see this glorious day.
She joins them together. They embrace.
Your virtues work this wonder. I have met at her most dear command. What's your desires?
Peace and your honoured arms. How loathingly I sounded the alarums. Witness heaven. 'Twas not to strike your breast, but to let out the rank blood of ambition. That Philip makes you his ladder, and being climbed so high as he may reach a diadem, there you lie. He's base begotten. That's his mother's sin.
God pardon it.
Ah, amen. But he's a bastard, and rather than I'll kneel to him, I'll saw my legs off by the thighs, because I'll stand, in spite of reverence, he's a bastard, he is. And to beat down his usurpation, I have thrown about this thunder. But Mendoza, the people hate him for his birth. He only leans on you. You are his pillar. You gone? He walks on crutches, or else falls. Then shrink from under him. Are not they fools that, bearing others up, themselves seem low? Because they above sit high, why, you do so.
True.
Behold this error with fixed eyes.
'Tis true. Well?
Oh, have you found it? Have you smelt the train of powder that must blow you up into air? What air? Why this, a breath. Look you, in this time may a king meet death. Have an eye to it. Check it. Check it.
How?
How? Thus. Steal from the heat of that incestuous blood, where ravished honour and Filippo lies. Leave him. Divide this huge and monstrous body of armoured Spaniards into limbs thus big. Part man from man. Send every soldier home. I'll do the like. Peace with an olive branch shall fly with dove-like wings about all Spain. The crown, which I as a good husband keep, I will lay down upon the empty chair. Marry you the queen, and fill it. For my part, these knees are yours, sir.
Is this sound?
From my heart.
If you prove false.
If I do, let fire fall.
Amen.
Upon thy head. And so it shall.
All of myself is yours. Soldiers, be gone.
And that way you.
The rest I will divide. The lords shall be convented.
Good.
Let's meet.
Where?
Here, anon. This is thy winding sheet.
Exit Cardinal. Moor walks up and down musing.
What shape will this prodigious womb bring forth which groans with such strange labour?
Excellent.
Why, Eleazar, art thou rapt with joys, or does thy sinking policy make to shore?
Ha!
Eleazar, madman, hearest thou more?
Well, so, you turn my brains. You mar the face of my attempts in the making. For this chaos, this lump of projects, ere it be licked over, 'tis like a bear's conception. Stratagems being but begot and not got out are like charged cannons not discharged. They do no harm nor good. True policy, breeding in the brain, is like a bar of iron, whose ribs being broken and softened in the fire, you then may forge it into a sword to kill, or a helmet to defend life. 'Tis therefore wit to try all fashions ere you apparel villainy. But I have suited him. Fit.
How? Prithee, how?
Why thus? Yet no. Let's hence. My heart is nearest of my counsel. Yet I scarce dare trust my heart with. What I do, it shall look old the hour wherein 'tis born. Wonders twice seen our garments o'erworn.
And exit Eleazar. Oh, I really liked that sort of closing speech of just going, oh God, let me think. I'm thinking. You know, he does a lot of thinking, as clearly doing a lot of thinking all the time. It's just constant cogs are turning, and it's just I've got to figure out how to make this plan work, because he's only got half a plan. He hasn't quite figured out, I think, precisely how it's all going to pay off at the end there. He sort of got so far with it. So I liked bits of that. This lump of projects. Eric.
Yeah, we have some interesting things going on in this scene. Just like the whole, convince Mendoza to change sides, but then does Mendoza really believe them? And does kind of, I don't know. It's quite interesting, sort of. He doesn't have any asides in this scene, whereas Eleazar gets all the asides in the scene and seems intent on marrying off the queen to seemingly make Mendoza the king. But then I'm like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, well, it's clearly not. He's clearly lying. And it's this thing is going. No, my beef's with Philip. You know, it's not with you. You know, it's fine, mate. You know, let us embrace and all be friends. He's very much the centre of gravity. And he's interesting. The temporal signature of this is odd. Because Eleazar in the previous scene said, "Hark, they sound retreat," but the sound retreat doesn't get sounded until 20-odd, 30-odd lines into the next scene. So is the beginning of the scene technically happening concurrently with the end of the previous scene? Can we technically call the opening of this scene a flashback? I'm just saying, because it might be the earliest flashback that we've got in drama. I've been hunting for one for a while. It sort of works that way, because I say the retreat is sounded in the end of the previous scene. So, and he's talking about this stuff. So it's like, 2 minutes earlier, this is what's going on. Rachael.
Yeah, I think we have another flashback before this. The scene with Maria and King Fernando, because they're waiting outside the door, but then we see them go into the room like in the next scene, and then the whole thing with the fairies plays out, and then that stuff. So I was going to say though, for this scene, I thought Mendoza was going to get it in this scene, but he didn't. You know, he's still alive. I thought we would get another death before the end of the session.
No, he hasn't figured out his plan yet. He's got half a plan. He's figuring it out as he goes. But that it sort of reflects actually how this feels like a film script. That the scenes are constantly flowing into each other. You know, where a film script would just use cuts and things. It's constant motion, constant pushing the plot forward, constant little set pieces, surprise moments. It feels that. I think that's why we're responding to it so well, considering the many massive problems, because it does feel like this is like modern entertainment. It's in the way it's structured and the way it's telling its story and the way it's doing storytelling things. Okay, that's it for this session. So, final thoughts from around the room. Some of you have been here through the duration, and yeah, we have so many unresolved questions that we can't really resolve. But yeah, any final thoughts, Sarah? I think I'll go to you first this time.
Yes, yes. I mean, it is so modern, isn't it? And I mean, the fact that it's constantly undercutting your expectations as well. Is very feels very contemporary. A lot of thrillers do that. You know, we're in an age now where everybody's seen enough thrillers and enough action films to know what's coming, and so, you know, directors these days, they set up plot after plot after plot, and then they just undercut it and undercut it and undercut it. So you're like, oh, I really don't know what's going to happen, because that's how you build suspense these days, when kind of everybody knows how the kind of structure usually works. And here is someone doing it in 1600. I mean, the other thing is as well that that thing of the anti-hero, like the thing that actually is pulling me along now is seeing how he does it. You know, he's got half a plan here. I expected the Queen Mother to murder Mendoza. That was the plot. That didn't happen. Eleazar turns up, and it's like, oh, okay, I've got half a plan. And it's like, okay, how is he going to sort this out? Like, I have every faith that he's going to find a way to do this. That he's gonna come up with the other half of that plot because of what's come before. But the joy. It comes from actually seeing how he works it out, and that's a very contemporary, that's a very modern thing. I mean, it's not contemporary, it's been around for a long time in films and in thrillers, but it's interesting to see it here. I don't know if there's been other previous instances of it, but it's really kind of clearly like that. The structure, the devices that get used over and over again later on are all here, being used in a very kind of deft way at a very early stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Emma, you weren't here the other day, so you're stepping in midway through the.
Yeah.
You've sneaked into the cinema late. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, like's been said, I very much enjoyed the pace, the flow, the twists and turns, the way you've no idea what's going to happen, who's going to die, how they're going to die. It really kind of keeps you engaged. I enjoyed reading Eleazar. I very much admire his character and his language. It's so juicy, especially all of these this imagery about hell. He loves, Charon and his boat and piling up the bodies. I enjoyed all of that. And Crab and Cole, fantastic. Yes, and everyone's reaction to their very sudden demise that came out of nowhere. It's kind of a testament to how well this play uses dark comedy. Yeah, it's good.
Eric, any final thoughts?
Well, one of my characters got killed today. In a very interesting manner. He was shot down. Sniped down? Is that even a verb? Anyway, it just kind of. I don't know. This place is doing so many things, and I want to know how it ends. But I'm not going to be here tomorrow. Well, yeah, not strictly speaking. And it's kind of like, just don't to know. And also, like, why is it called the Lascivious Queen? She's only like a tiny fraction of Eleazar's big plan.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. Yeah, because I was going to make that point myself about the Queen Mother is much more reduced in this part of the play, whereas she opened so big. I mean, she was a very bold and there were lots of issues with the character, but she had presence. She was part of the action, whereas now she is doing what he tells her to pretty much, and doesn't seem to have as much agency, and that feels a bit of a shame. hopefully that will change. Maybe, as we're in the middle of a battlefield, maybe the playwrights didn't feel that worked going any other way. But it does feel that she's mostly reacting and handing control of the reins of everything straight to Eleazar, which is not necessarily an uninteresting theme. It's not being necessarily explored. It's just happening. Desna, you've only been here for today. Any final thoughts?
So it's a very kind of I've only seen a slice of what it seems to be like a massive and complex thing. I've also appreciated the twists and my expectations being subverted in each scene. And so I don't want to make any predictions about what will happen next, because I won't be here tomorrow either. But I think it would be great if it was interesting to hear the Queen Mother was a more was it a character with more agency earlier on, because I would like to see her become a character with more agency. Maybe she can just get rid of Mendoza and Philip and Eleazar and take the crown for herself, and I don't know, get some sort of give all these fighting men their comeuppance.
Well, there's still time. Who knows where it's going to go? Rachael, any final thoughts?
I don't know. I would like. Does this have like a performance record, like in the modern times? Because like I do think it would be interesting to see. I think it's got a lot of issues, but those issues, I don't know. It's like you said, that there's so much else going on here, so much action, that it is like a very interesting play. And I do want to see how it ends. And I don't know, it's makes me wonder, like, is this guy, even though he's committing these crimes, is he the villain, or is it this, like, is he really the villain, or is it the society he's in that's making him a villain?
Liza, any final thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was thinking, often the title character is the character that the actor-manager of the troupe plays. And I guess that's Eleazar in this case. That I mean, it's the title is Lust's Dominion, but it's subtitled either The Spanish Moor's Tragedy or The Lascivious Queen. Is that what it is, right?
Yeah, so when it was originally performed, it would have been The Spanish Moor's Tragedy, which aligns it with, and it's the Admiral's Men at the Rose. So, though I don't know if Alain's performing with them at that point. I think he's retired for his. He unretires. He does a thing and then retires again. So it's that kind of thing. You would associate this role with him if he was doing it.
But then The Lascivious Queen is a much more sensationalistic title. So maybe it was revised and they were trying to pass it off, or revived and they were trying to pass it off as a new play, or just get people through the door.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the textual question. How much of this is from the original production, and how much is because it's printed 57 years later. So there's all sorts of possible questions about what has happened to the text in between. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, no, you weren't cutting me off. I asked, but the Queen Mother strikes me as also very much a part for if you had a principal actor who was able to play women. It strikes me that this is not a boy actor's part. This is an adult actor who plays female gendered characters. I mean, that's how it strikes me. I think Philip and Fernando are probably where you put your boys, and maybe the friars.
Well, you've got Isabella, who we've met vaguely at the beginning of the play.
Isabella and Maria, yes.
And Maria,
or Maria. Whomst ever. So, yeah, I mean, what I said yesterday during Final Thoughts was basically the same, that there is a lot of racism in this play, and a lot of it is attached to Eleazar, and some of it is attached to Zarack and Balthazar, who from the text we've read today seem to be enslaved to him. But Eleazar is also a really compelling character, and he's compelling because he's unpredictable, but you know he's going to dare to the maximum. And I can't wait to see what he tries to do next.
Yes.
I mean, whomst among us would... He's not just written impetuous and you know, brave and ambitious and a bit bloodthirsty and a bit evil. You can quite see why he's a sex object to at least 2 different women, possibly more. Anyways.
And once again, we return to Sarah saying, you know, we hadn't had as much choppy changiness to his dialogue, but in that closing scene, there was once again. It's when he's thinking through his thoughts, and they're dancing around, and it's very natural. He can do the rhetoric. He can appeal to people and say, "Look at me, I will be your new king, because look at my lovely soldiers, and we've locked the doors, and you can't get out. Make me king." And he can do that Tamburlaine kind of declaration, but then also you have this inner monologue and these broken thoughts that are really interesting. Well, sadly, that's all we have time for. We have one more session. Will the curse of the final session strike down the Lascivious Queen or not? Or will we be thoroughly pleased by the number of expected deaths? It's a real quandary that we often have. Is will the ending be as thrilling and exciting as we hope it will be? And for that matter, will it get any more problematic? I'm going to say yes. So all that remains is thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, and goodbye, bastard of Spain.